Hey guys, welcome to All Around Jube. Today we decided to film a video about what happened to our son, Caspian. So we wanted to just sit here and talk to you guys about, walk you through what happened, show you like pictures and videos and everything of everything we went through. So with that, let's get started. I was hanging out with my friend Tiana, and in the morning, like, I saw like a little bump on the back of his head, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. A couple days before, we gave him like a haircut, and I was like, I don't know, and then we thought it might be like an ingrown hair or something. So it was just like a little pimple, and then
it had like a white top.
Yeah,
too. It was like a white top pimple, so or white tip pimple. White tip? White top?
Wait.
White head?
What?
White head.
White head.
A white-headed pimple on the back of his head. And it looked like a normal white-headed pimple, maybe an ingrown hair. Nothing to be concerned about.
So at the beginning of the day, it was like tiny. And then at the end of the day, I would say it was about the size of like a grape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Noah saw it, and we thought it was a pimple. We were just like...
We were like, it just got swollen. Like, it was a pimple, and it just swelled up a little bit over through the course of the day. And that was when I got home from work. I looked at it and was just like, it's probably nothing to worry about.
In my gut, I was like, I don't know, this feels really weird. So I went to the gym the next morning, and on my way home, I called my regular doctor and talked to a nurse. And she was like, well, why don't you just like ice it, and we'll make an appointment, because this was on a Thursday. So she was like, I'll make an appointment for Friday just in case, because it would go into the weekend and then we'd have to just go to the urgent care. So they just made an appointment, and they were like, well, we think it will just go down, but check back in if it doesn't. Just ice it and everything. So Noah left for work. Mm-hmm. And I just went along with my day. I was just like, I hung out with my sister. She came and she saw it, and she was like, that looks kind of interesting. She was trying to be so sweet, but in her head, she was like, take him to the ER. And then my friend Abby came over, and we were just like doing TikToks, hanging out. And I kept icing Caspian's head, and he was still like, he was acting kind of fussy, kind of weird, but he was still like, he would play with Abby's daughter, Brecken, but he was just like sleeping a lot, and it just looked really big to me, and I was starting to like get really worried. And I was like, if Noah comes home, I'm gonna ask him, and I'm gonna be like, I think we should go to the ER, but I don't know. And then you came home, and
I came home and expecting the icing to have like made it go down and it not be as bad looking as it did the night before, at least some improvement or something. And it had grown like 3 times the size, and I was like, Christine was like, do you think I should take him in?
Because usually Noah's like, he's fine.
Dude, the ice isn't doing anything. He has a fever. It's terrible. So I was like, yes, you should definitely take him in.
And like when Noah said that, like Noah usually is just like,
I'm normally super chill. I'm like, it's probably not that bad. It's fine.
Like, he has a big family. People have gotten hurt a lot of times, and they're usually fine.
Yeah.
But when he was like, go to the hospital,
I
was like freaking out inside. And so I left. Malachi was asleep.
Malachi was asleep when you left, and we couldn't bring him to the hospital. So I had to stay home with Malachi.
And I took Caspian into the ER. The drive over was so, like, it was like a roller coaster of emotions. I was, like, so scared. I was like...
Yeah.
Because he couldn't put any weight on it. Like, he would turn his head and
putting him in the car seat was really hard because he couldn't... He got really upset, and it was clearly aggravating him a lot when we would put him in the car seat or lay him on his head. Yeah. So I'm assuming the drive to the hospital was not fun.
Yeah, I was just, like, so worried.
A lot?
He wasn't crying. He was, like... He was sleeping...
Okay.
And then when we got into the I know, I was so worried. When we got to the emergency room, I walked in, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then he started crying when we were waiting. And then a nurse finally came, and I was like, he has a bump on his head. And she's like, oh, yeah. So she took all his vitals, and then...
shit, there's a bump on his head.
And so then they took me back, and they did a whole bunch of tests. And they were like, yeah, this is kind of weird. And so they first they took to get an ultrasound on the back of his head. They were like, we want to see what this is. It didn't show them anything. Then they took him to get x-rays. It didn't show them anything. Then they took him to get a CAT scan. Didn't show him anything. He's like super, like he's like crying. He's like, they had to like take him from me to get the x-ray, and that was just like so terrifying, and that was like the worst thing ever. And then they kept having to like, they tried to take his blood work, and Caspian's so cute. He's like a little chunky baby, so they couldn't get his vein. Like, it was just layers of fat, and they were trying to get it, and like nobody could get it. They kept having to like have new people get it, and I was getting so frustrated. I was like, get someone in here. And if you know me, I'm really sweet, but that was the first time like I was literally like, get someone who knows what they're doing to come help me, because he was just like in so much pain, and he was crying, and my heart was just like breaking. And so then that night they came in, and they like sit down, and they're like talking to me, and they're like, so that the CAT scan shows that he has a fractured skull. And I was like, oh my god, what does this mean? And she was like tearing up as she told me that he had a fractured skull, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, and Caspian did like a week before, he did roll off the bed, and I was like, is that what happened? Like, he rolled off the bed, he didn't cry, he was fine, I just like picked him up, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that what happened? So then like a bunch of doctors, different doctors came in, and different people. I'm pretty sure it was CPS, because when it's a skull fracture, that notifies them of like abuse.
They immediately have to like call in
CPS. So they were just like talking to me, and she's like, what happened? You know what happened? Like, how did he get this? Like, tell me again what's happening. And they asked me like a couple of times, and I was just like crying and freaking out. And during all this time, my phone was like dying the whole time. So I was trying to update Noah, but I was like, I don't want my phone to die, so I would talk to him for like a little bit, and then
yeah, this whole time, like every time she talked to somebody and she got any news at all, she would FaceTime me, and she would FaceTime me, and she would FaceTime me, and it was like that all night long. So
yeah, and so they were just like grilling me,
and on top of that, her phone was dead. Her phone had like 5% all night long. She kept calling me, and it would be like a 10-15 second talk. She would call me, she'd give me all the information she could, and then she'd be like, okay, I gotta go bye, and then she would hang up the phone, because they didn't have chargers for her phone, and of course she didn't bring one. She didn't think she was gonna be there all night. So
we
that
finally,
just added to the stress. Her phone's dying.
We got to our room at like 2 a.m. So they admitted us, and we got to our room at 2 a.m. And they finally put him on some medicine, I'm pretty sure, some pain medicine. And so that night was super tough. I just was super worried, and I didn't really understand what was going on. They weren't really talking.
It was they were trying to figure out what was wrong and how to fix it, or if they needed to intervene at all. Like, if they needed to do some type of surgery for his head, they needed to do some brain surgery, what would they need to do? So they were pulling all the consultants from every side. They talked to, I think they had neuro on the case, but they hadn't gotten, and then neuro was the one who really wanted
to know, like,
and get
see everything,
get more scans and stuff.
That night was just super hard. He was just like in a lot of pain, and I didn't know what was going on. But then the next day, hey guys, we're back. Sorry, we had to reset, get the babies figured out.
Caspian woke up.
The battery died.
Not to sleep anymore. The battery died, and the phone, the camera battery died. And we are back. We're going to continue our story. So we left off at Thursday night.
So that night, it was a really rough night. Didn't really know what was going on because no one knew what was going on. Friday, this is when they determined that he did not have a skull fracture. The neurosurgeon was able to look at the films. I think it was from the x-ray.
The x-ray or the CAT scans?
The x-ray or the CAT scan. We don't know which one. And they were like, this is definitely not a skull fracture. This looks like an infection.
Yeah.
But they didn't know details into it. So they wanted to do an MRI, and they put him on antibiotics. So they knew it was an infection.
They knew whatever was wrong. They don't know what was wrong, but whatever was had caused an infection. So something was infected. So all they knew to do was
start them on
antibiotics and take care of the infection, start fighting that.
Yeah.
And they also couldn't. The reason it was so inconclusive is because of the crazy amount of inflammation.
Yeah.
The CAT scans and X-ray?
The X-ray, yeah.
The X-ray and CAT scans that they did and the ultrasound were sort of inconclusive. They were
just because
there
was so much inflammation.
Because there's so much inflammation on the back of his head. So they were like, we need to wait for that to go down. Antibiotics, first step to getting that to go down. So
and
that's where they started.
In the next,
Friday.
I'll show pictures of what it looked like. I'll show pictures. So Friday was just a waiting day. They were just administering the antibiotics, and they wanted to schedule an MRI for that Monday because that's when the specialist would be there, because this was on a weekend. So not really all of the specialists were there, and they wanted to wait to see if the antibiotic would work to kill the infection first. And so Friday was just a waiting day, and then Saturday they had a lot of doctors come and talk to us. And this is when the team was like, why are we waiting? We need to get him into an MRI because I want to know what's happening. Because he kept spiking fevers. Like, they wouldn't go away. Even though he was on a very hard antibiotic, the fevers wouldn't go away.
And a fever reducer, right?
They were giving him Tylenol, and it wasn't
and
working.
his fevers weren't ceasing. They were just continuing, so.
Yeah, so that Saturday they came and talked to us. Noah was able to come. My sister watched Malachi, and they finally kind of let us know what was going on. And they were like, we want to get an MRI. We want to see. They didn't know if it was a bone infection, if it was. They were just like, this is really close to his brain, to his skull. So they were like, we need to. So the next day, they had him go in for an MRI. It was a hard night because he couldn't nurse. Because he had to have no foods, and they actually had to sedate him to do the MRI. So that was really scary, and I couldn't be with him. I could walk him down, and then I had to just go and wait in the room. So
how long was it that he was away?
He was away for like 3.5 hours.
Jeez.
But they said he did great. He was sleeping basically the whole time because he was sedated. So
yeah,
that was good. So then we just waited, and I would say like 2 hours later, after the MRI, they came to talk to us, and they had a plan, and they sat us down, and they were like, he has a infected blood clot on the suture line of his skull. And his skull was thin, dangerously thin, they said.
What caused the blood clot?
And we don't know what caused the blood clot.
We don't know. Like, it could have been numerous things. We still don't know what
so what the issue is that when kids or anyone has an infection, the infection comes and the antibiotics usually just go and treat that. But his body was like, absolutely not, it made a blood clot. And then the blood clot got infected. And that's why it was like one of a kind. They had never seen this. This was like...
Right, because there was zero like indication of any injury or anything that really would have caused such a reaction.
Yeah.
And then also, because there wasn't anything, why did his body actually create a blood clot? Why did the blood clot get infected? It was like his body went into like hyperdrive to fight this thing, or whatever it was, and it wasn't even anything. So it was a very weird, very, very weird instance. Shouldn't ever happen in a 5-month-old, so.
Yeah. So, and they sat us down and they were like, listen, we need to do the most aggressive thing to fight this, and you're going to be here for 6 weeks so we could do continuous antibiotic.
Right.
And it was so scary. Like, I was like, I thought that Caspian was dying. Like, it was so scary.
I think they all did. I think everyone in the hospital was like,
they would walk in
he's
and
very close to.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the doctors would walk in and would be like, you could see it on their face that they were like very scared for us.
Yeah, and it hit so close to home because we lost my sister, I guess 12 years ago. And she had a brain aneurysm. And so when I heard that it was close to his brain, I was just like,
Devastating.
devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we just were like in panic mode. We were like, how are we gonna do this? How is Noah gonna take off work? Someone has to be with Malachi. How am I gonna live in the hospital? And I personally, I struggle with postpartum depression, and I've gotten myself into like a routine to keep my mental health well. And so I would work out every morning, take my medicine, and I was like, what am I going to do? I can't do that. I can't work. I need to be with my baby like 24/7.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if I can do this again. I'm like, so I was going to, I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like,
It was such a train wreck.
yeah. And it was like
it was like suddenly you're looking at, you one day you're going to the gym, you're doing your normal routine and stuff, going to work, and the next it's like, okay, you're going to be in the hospital and you're going to be here for the next month and a half, and it's like,
yeah.
what? I mean, it was devastating.
But it was really good that they finally like sat us down and we actually had a plan.
This is the plan right now. You have to do antibiotics for 6 weeks, and and she just kind of laid it out. She was like,
She was very blunt, and I really appreciated that.
You need to get comfortable.
Because a lot of the doctors
Yeah.
were like tiptoeing, like dancing around and she was just like, this is what's happening.
Right.
This is dangerous. This is like scary, but we're gonna do this. So
Right, we're gonna treat it, and it's gonna be. But she was also like she was not like saying it easily. She was like, this is gonna be really hard. Like, get mentally prepared.
yeah.
This is gonna be long and difficult. So.
Caspian, this is Sunday night after them, right? He had a very rough night. He was feverish. He wasn't doing very well. And so they came in, and that night he kept blowing the IV, so like he would move and it would pop out, and it was just so hard because they kept having to poke him and kept having to poke him because it wouldn't stay. So finally they said, like, let's get a PICC line in, so we don't have to keep doing that. And the decision was between two different PICC lines. If they couldn't get a specific PICC line in, then we would need to be there for 6 weeks. But they were able to get the bigger PICC line in that stays in the arm better, and it threads through all the way to like his two veins by his heart.
Right.
And so they put that PICC line in on Monday, and
they successfully got it in, which was great news.
yeah, and that was about like 3-hour surgery type thing, and he couldn't eat again the night before, so he was super crabby.
You had to just deal with him without being able to feed him, so that's frustrating, but
he did that. He was gone from me for like 2 hours, and then they got it and they started putting antibiotics through it and everything. So it was starting to look up. It was starting to be better, but
yeah,
I was starting to mentally prepare myself for being in the hospital for 6 weeks. So we had this amazing, she was a spiritual counselor there. She came in and she knew my family from when I was little, and she brought me like a whole bunch of stuff. She brought me snacks. She brought me like hampers. She brought me buckets. Like, she got me a whole bunch of stuff to make the room feel more homey.
She got you like a poster so you could decorate.
Yeah.
And picture frames.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you could print photos, put it in the room. Baskets for organizing your stuff.
She prayed over him. She anointed the room.
Yeah. That was really, really good.
Really, really good. So
Tuesday,
the new doctor came in and was like, we want to get you home this week. And I was like,
we're like, what?
Are you kidding me?
What do you mean you want us to get home this week?
And I was like, is this like, it was weird because she was a new doctor. And so then the infectious disease doctor, really trusted him, and I was like, he's gonna tell me how it is. And I was like, is this something
really intelligent dude?
Really
super smart. Yeah.
And I was like, can he go home? Like, is this something? And he's like, yes, absolutely. Since they got the right PICC line in, I feel confident that you'll be able to go home and administer the antibiotics and do 2 weeks of one set and then 2 weeks orally. So he in total still would have around 6 weeks of antibiotic, but we wouldn't have to be
in the hospital.
Administering
it, we could do it at home.
Yeah. So on Wednesday, all day Wednesday, they were teaching me how to administer the medicines and antibiotic through his PICC line. I was really nervous about that. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to know what I'm doing. But I got it. We figured it out. And we had a home nurse come to the apartment, too. So we got to take him home. And then we started doing the antibiotic through his PICC line. It was really intense. It was like it was every 6 hours, and then every 4 hours he had to take ibuprofen.
Was it every 6 hours? Yes. The ibuprofen made it weird because it was every 4 hours.
Yeah, and then the ibuprofen was actually because it was like a blood thinner type thing.
And the antibiotic took us. We put it in and then we had to leave it. We hooked him up to the automatic pump, and it would take 30 minutes, and we had to do that 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 7 p.m., and 11 p.m. And it took about an hour.
Yeah.
Right? It was quite the process.
But
I'm not going to go into it, but
we learned how to do that.
We learned how to do it, and once we had the hang of it, it wasn't terrible. But yeah, 4 times a day was a lot.
But he was starting to look better and get better. And so, yeah. Then after he got the PICC line removed after like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we started oral antibiotics. I was like, yay, oral. It was a lot harder. Like,
we were so excited. We're like, oh, we don't have to do the PICC line anymore. It'll be easier. We don't have to keep a thing on his arm. It's kind of weird. We could just do oral, super easy, right? Well, no, it wasn't easier. It was possibly more difficult.
Because he would throw it up. It just it was heavy on his stomach. It was gross. It smelled disgusting. It was just and it was hard to give it to him and get it down. Yeah. And we had to do it weeks. So in total, Caspian had about 5 weeks, right?
About 5 weeks of antibiotics, I think, yeah.
And we were very cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
We were like, is he okay? Because 6, it went.
And the other thing is, it hadn't gone away. They were all right, we're finishing antibiotics. They were moving him from PICC line to oral antibiotics, and then the oral antibiotics, they were like, okay, we're going to end it soon, and all, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, but he's still, the back of his head's still red. The inflammation had gone down a lot. But the back of his head was still red. There was still the pimple, the original pimple, still there. And we were like...
We were just, scared. Everyone's like, yay, he's okay, and I was just terrified. And it didn't really feel like
it. It felt like the...
It was like a whirlwind. We were just pushed different information, different things, and then he's okay. And we were like, yeah, he's okay.
But he acted okay. He was acting normal. It didn't seem like it actually was super painful for him anymore. But it was still red. It didn't look great. It didn't look completely healed. So we were very cautious. We were very worried, and it was also everyone else's optimism was
scaring us. During the time that I was in the hospital, I was overwhelmed by the amount of support that we received.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I knew we had a fantastic support system. Our families and everyone we've known, throughout our lifetimes and our families' connections. I knew it was great, but the amount that we received was mind-blowing.
It was so amazing.
It was fantastic.
I had so many friends FaceTime me when I was in the hospital, and my sister she came and watched Malachi for us, and I knew he was safe and well taken care of. And Yeah. Yeah, I had like all my family on his side and my side. They were all texting me. My mom would call me every day. Yeah. So it was amazing. And my friend Abby, she started a GoFundMe, and that was like
Huge.
very huge, because that meant that Noah could be at home with us the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it thanks to like everyone's support, like we were getting meals, we were getting gifts brought to us, we were getting, you know, financial assistance so that I didn't have to go to work or worry about it. You know, rent and everything was just completely paid for, and it was like, that was amazing. Yeah.
So if you're watching this, like, we appreciate you guys so much. Like, this was like a horrible time, but like it brought us so much closer to all of our friends and our family, and the support that we had was truly amazing. Like, and the prayers and the kind words, like, I know that God was truly over the whole situation and that Caspian was going to be okay. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy. The fact that he's better
is still
blows our minds. It's like it feels like whiplash. We went from perfect normal life to you're going to be in the hospital for 6 weeks to you're going home to you're going home, but you have to have the PICC line in. We're taking the PICC line out. We're going to do oral antibiotics and then stop oral antibiotics. He's actually okay. In such a short amount of time, and so many changes so fast, it just was like emotional whiplash is the best way to describe it.
And like doing this video was also really hard because it was just like reliving. It was just reliving all of it. It was really hard.
Like it was good.
It was good, yeah. He was my rainbow baby. We lost 3 babies in between Malachi and Caspian, and I was like, this is my rainbow baby.
I know.
I was so scared, but he is my rainbow baby, and he's here to stay, and he's gonna be okay. Yeah. I think that's it. So
that's the whole story.
That's the story of Caspian and everything we went through. We have one more appointment. It's with the neurologist, and it's just to check to see that his suture line, everything looks correct. I think they're gonna have to do an MRI. So send your prayers, positive vibes. So thanks for coming along to hear the story of Caspian and what happened. And
now that this video is behind us,
you gotta see how we celebrated.
The other thing is, this entire time really put a bit of perspective on our lives. We were like, you know, before this all happened, it was just constant, like, I'm working, Christine's, you know, we're trying to have some schedule at home, we're going to the gym, whatever.
We were really unhappy.
We weren't super happy, we were confused about what to do with our lives and stuff. Not really what to do with our lives. But
what life was throwing at us.
Life was just kind of it wasn't great. And we had talked about starting a YouTube channel for like months. And we were always just like, no. And then during this time we were like, why the hell are we not starting a YouTube channel? And if anything, we have great footage of our kids' lives and you know, growing up and stuff. So
yeah, to conclude this
emotional and difficult video,
we are gonna kill it.
Go to bed.
We're gonna kill it at this YouTube. We're gonna have so much fun, and the next video you see, we are celebrating the health of Caspian and getting away for a few days. Hey guys, sorry we got a little busy with our little ones, but I just wanted to conclude and say thank you so much for watching and going through the story of Caspian with us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we're so excited to see what this channel holds. So the next video will be us celebrating the health of our beautiful baby boy. So we'll see you there. Check it out. Like, subscribe, follow us in our social medias, and thanks for watching. Bye.